So either way, so while with increasing the preload setting, that actually is doing the same thing for me in terms of increasing my response of the car. Now remember, you don't want the car to be too responsive on street, so you have to find that right sweet spot, because with the rear sway bar and a really responsive front end, the tendency to lift off oversteer or just the tail coming out in tight corners is very high. So obviously you don't want that. So you have to play around with how you set it up and how you want your car to feel. Now, as a result, this car has become very pointy. It has become super fun. It's become in a straight line, it's obviously fun, but in the corners where I would be tackling understeer and getting oversteer or extremely tight. So if I can get some space right now, yeah. So in this corner, for example, I would get understeer after a point, even with the diff set to full. Okay, that's too many cars right now. So, God, I hate slotted rotors. They just make too much noise. And as the car warms up, it's just rotor. Yeah. The car is tightening the grip. Oh well, idiotic Volvo all-wheel drive. Come on, like, did it seriously? Okay, that wasn't fun. We'll get it on the way out back. Really tightens up, and to what degree tightens up, you can dial that down with the suspension, coilovers, spring preload, and also this is an adjustable sway bar, so you have different levels of stiffness on this. Right now, I don't see any need to go softer on the rear sway bar, so I have it at the fullest, the stiffest setting. And on these sway bars, because you got 4 points, they're actually 3-point adjustable and not 4-point. Because the torsion spring, you got two holes on each side. So the first setting is always the outer holes, they're the softest. Then the medium setting is one on one side on the inner hole, one side on the outer hole, the medium setting. And obviously the third setting is the outside hole, the inside holes for both. Now, there is a challenge in that. We'll get to that later. But you can set this, depending on how you want to drive, you can set the sway bar to be a little bit less oversteery, and it will add back some body roll, give you enough warning for the street. And on the track, you can change it back to the harder setting. But honestly, it's a little annoying to change the setting on this car. It's very difficult to contain the car, load the car up and then do it. So I just said, fuck it, let's just put on the lowest setting. Yeah, it can do that now. See, the car's road following has become so good, and see, at the point where I would hit terminal understeer, I'm hitting oversteer. That was fun. Yeah, and the front end grip has gone up so much. At the point of the turn where you expect the car to start sliding out, it just bites in. See? At that point I would expect the car to start sliding out. Now it's going in. That's a combination of the rear sway bar giving me the full anti-roll in the back and the tight tighter spring in the front, making the car even more responsive. So that's what a rear sway bar does. It increases the traction in the back while reducing the gap the warning gives you before it lets go. So, and it also transfers the load to the front of the car, which gives you better steering feedback. And you can easily counter, dial it in. The whole point of dialing in a coilover suspension, I've met enough people in my life who have just bought coilover suspension, put it in one setting, and driven it the same way for the next 10 years before the coilover requires a rebuild. Now, coilovers are beautiful tools for your car because they can adjust the weight balance of the car. They can, adjust the sharpness of the car and fine-tune the car to drive the way you want it to drive. Let's go a bit more around. Yeah, cleaner road. Now that the tires are warm, see how tight the car is? 148, I'm taking that. The car is pulling inside. At the point where it would slide out, the anti-roll bar is reacting to the roll and pulling the car inside. Here I have to be a little bit careful. See, that's the beauty of this fucking sway bar. Sorry, excuse the profanity. It just increases the feel of the car so much in the front. Obviously, because you're taking away grip from the back and transferring it to the front in terms of weight, in terms of body roll and all. But it is. Yeah, it allows you to do that. Oh, this thing is so much fun. You just need to be careful you don't step on crap and have your tire rear slide out. And although the suspension is at a slightly stiffer setting right now, the feedback I generate is phenomenal. Now that the question arises that now that you got a rear sway bar which is very stiff and it makes the car a little oversteery for your like what happens if your tail goes out? Well, keep the accelerator pinned. If you have a rear sway bar in a front wheel drive car and your tail decides to step out, you need to keep the accelerator pinned because that's what will transfer the weight back to the rear of the car and it will prevent that car from completely turning on you. It's counterintuitive, whenever we face a slide, our mind tells us to brake. Oh, come on. But in this case, you're actually better off accelerating because that transfers the weight back to your rear wheel and you can get some kind of stability to get the car back on track. Now that also obviously depends on the angle you're at. If you're at too much of an angle, then you're just gone. You might as well let go of the accelerator and go for a drive, go for a spin. Oh fuck, this car is too fast. But yeah, if you have a rear sway bar and you see your tail going out, instead of tapping the brakes or trying to slow the car down, accelerate. That will put the weight back on the tires that are slipping, so it will stop the slide and it will put you into a bit of an understeering situation. But it will, once the rear gets enough grip, it will transfer you should be able to get some sort of control back to get the car back on track. Now if you lift off and press the brake, now understand why does the lift off oversteer happen? Because when you lift off, the accelerator, the weight which is on the back, when you're accelerating the car, the weight is on the back wheels. The moment you brake, the entire weight shifts to the front. Now in a straight line it doesn't matter, but in a corner when your front rear is the one which is keeping you in line, if you lift off the if you transfer the weight suddenly to the front, the rear has no traction and no weight, so it starts sliding out. Now when the rear starts sliding out, what do you need to do to fix that situation? You want the weight to go back onto the rear wheels, and the only way you can do that is by accelerating. When you accelerate, again the weight moves back to the rear wheels. It slides a bit as the weight keeps on increasing, which means more you accelerate, the more the weight transfer will be, and eventually the rear wheels will get enough traction to stop the slide, and then your car will snap straight. So that's a trick you need to learn if you're going to have a very pointy car like this, especially a front wheel drive. That's a trick you need to learn about. Understand how the weight transfer happens in the corner and what do you need to do to make the weight transfer happen the way you